Okay. Hi, Adekemi. You can actually unmute yourself. Hi, Braco, baby Braco. I love your name. Hi, Abigail.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining in and congratulations on, succeeding to this round.
Thank you so
Already
much.
have Mark. He is in the building and he's very ready to show you all what he got. We're going to be expecting 3 more people to come in today. Yeah, we're actually expecting 2 more. So Tino Ade is already here. So 2 more people or I want to make sure that we squeeze as much from Mark. We don't want to let him go full. We want to let him go dry. But I'm really excited because I have a lot of that I, want to learn today with Mark. So it's so exciting. And thank you so much, Mark, again, for doing this for us. We're so excited. We're always eager to learn. Just a little brief, information about Mark. He is a technology consultant for 10 plus years. He's the big one with a focus on technology scouting, relationship management, and online marketing. Mark, again, I cannot thank you enough for doing this for us. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave the table to you or the mic to you because I want to get as much as possible from you today. All right, Mark, take it on.
All right, great. My name is Mark, and that was a perfect introduction. I had children 9 years ago, so I haven't updated my LinkedIn, but it's 20. I've been doing it for 20 years now, actually. But once you have kids, you start to fall behind on updating everything. So I've done IT consulting and innovation consulting. And so, and I know a few of you, I want to thank all you for filling out the survey. And I know that a lot of you are more advanced than me when it comes to machine learning and things like that. And so I'm going to try and give you some principles to approach things with that I think will be helpful as you all become masters at ChatGPT and AI. Let's see. There we go. So the 3 things we're covering are efficiency, expertise, and empathy. And so efficiency is pretty straightforward. That's the first thing everyone hopes to get out of ChatGPT. Can write 10 paragraphs in a second. Some that all of you have. As far as expertise, ChatGPT is a great teacher and tutor. It's like having a tutor that has read every book there is, and so that's the second piece that's not as obvious in terms of what you can use ChatGPT for. And then the last one is empathy, which is the one that people don't realize ChatGPT can help with, because people think of AIs as kind of cold and not understanding emotions, and that's really turns out not to be true. So we'll get into it. To give the basic idea of how these things work is basically machine learning means that the people who are building ChatGPT and these large language models take tons and tons of information and throw it at the machine, at these GPUs, and then the computers work over days and days trying to take all that information and organize it and put it into a kind of 3-dimensional space where you're taking words such as it's like if you're cooking. I know a lot of you mentioned cooking, so the words salt and pepper are going to be close together, and then maybe other seasons will be a little farther apart, and then things that you should never cook with, are going to be in a totally different space. And so basically, it's a little bit like this three-dimensional or multi-dimensional space where all the information is getting organized, and the computer is trying to understand these things and figure out where to put all these pieces. And we think of them as predicting the next word, as we say, okay, so you'll see when people are explaining large language models, they're just word predictors. But really, when you're using them, think about yourself as an explorer, and that these machines have read every book imaginable, and they've organized all this knowledge, and you're an explorer in that space, in that universe of information that the ChatGPT is built on, as model information. So think of yourself as an explorer, because the possibilities are totally endless in terms of what you can do and what you can figure out. And so this is you exploring the infinite universe of things that you can talk about and learn from ChatGPT. So now we'll get into efficiency, and the first approach, that's the basic thing, is to turn ChatGPT into an expert and to whatever your topic is. And so if you're into you're writing emails, from highly technical to basic stuff, say, tell ChatGPT, you're an expert in data analysis. You are an expert in writing Python. You're an expert in creating slide templates. Start with that and tell ChatGPT, say, you are an expert in this thing. An infinite number of specialties you can add this list of hundreds of thousands. Anything you can think of, you can say. You are an Excel expert. You are a JavaScript console. And that's a lot of the prompts you'll see online, is people telling you how to tell chat it's taking. So that's the first part, is tell it, create your expert. And the next is be specific. So if there's something specific you want out of it, tell it. So you're an expert in time management. You're skilled at breaking large tasks into smaller goals, and you're an expert in creating hourly schedules. Tell it, think of your dream assistant, and then be specific about telling ChatGPT that that's what it's going to do for you. So if you want ChatGPT to be a lawyer, you might start with saying you're a lawyer, but you can be specific. You can say you're a lawyer from Nigeria that specializes in contracts. You can say you're a lawyer that specializes in IP law. You're a lawyer that specializes in machine learning disputes. Be specific and create the expert that you need, and then you can dialogue with it. The next thing is, so now you've created your expert, you've made it specific. Now give it context for what you're trying to get it to do. So if you want to be a thought leader in technology, tell it about your situation. Give it specifics. Say, I want to become a thought leader in technology. This is what my degree is in. This is my passion, is this other thing. You can give it as much details. You can talk to this for 20 minutes, just like you would a career counselor. And it will take all of those things in. And then, and it's like you're exploring space. The more detail you give it, the more amazing and specific advice you're going to get back. And so this is a start. You could say, this is my degree, my passion. What are 10 steps I could take over the next year to make progress towards being a thought leader? And that's one, a one quick prompt, but you could talk to it for 10 minutes before you even ask it for those 10 steps. You could have it really get to know you and figure out the ideal path for you to become a thought leader. And so the next thing along those lines is telling it to ask you questions. A lot of in the beginning, you're amazed that it can answer anything, and you'll say, I want to become a thought leader in machine learning. So how do I do it? And it'll give you an answer. But what the next thing you can do is tell it to interview you. So you can say, I want to be an expert coder that specializes in automating routine tasks. So here we've set, again, to summarize, we've told it who it is, we've set the context. And now to get better details, you can say, ask me questions about what I do every day. Now, a lot of you, there's probably 100 things you do on a daily basis. How do you know which ones to automate, which ones are the easiest to automate, which will save you the most time? ChatGPT can help you figure out. And so you can say, I didn't put it here, but you can say, before you answer, you can say, ask me some questions about what I do on a daily basis, about my job, to help me figure out what I'm supposed to automate. You can say, ask me questions about what programming language I want to use. You can say, and you can do this indefinitely. And so a fun one that you can do as an imaginary case is you can say, you can pick a goal, say, I want to become an expert coder. And then you can play with your imagination and you say, okay, ChatGPT, imagine there is a treasure chest and it's this beautiful wooden treasure chest. And inside is something that symbolizes the one key to me becoming the expert coder of my dreams. Then you can say, ask me 10 questions about my life and my personality and my coding skills. And then after I've answered those 10 questions, tell me what special thing is inside that treasure chest that will be the key to me becoming an expert coder. And so I did this for myself. I said, well, what's the key to me improving my life? And I said, ask me 10 questions and then give me one thing. And then I opened the treasure chest and it was, I think, a pen and paper maybe, or it was something about communication. It said that the key for me was to connect with my community, and that I was too isolated sitting in front of a computer and just emailing. And so your imagination is the only limit in terms of imagining those situations and having it give you answers. So this one is one of the first things people do with ChatGPT, generating content. And so we'll go through the basics of this really quickly, because you can find a lot about this online. This is one of the first things people do. So when you're generating content, one of the first things you're gonna do is you're gonna learn to give it specifics about what you want back. So if you want something in one sentence, say, give me one sentence. So here's War and Peace in one sentence. The next thing is style. You can say, do it in this style. So I think, so one of you said your hobbies was gospel music. And so, so here's a book summarized in a gospel song that's 2 stanzas long. So I've never read Crime and Punishment, so this is the most I know about it right now, through a gospel lyrics. And here's where you get into, I mean, this is the emotional thing. This isn't cold at all. When you look at it, though, you know, at the end, through suffering and pain will rise above, bathed in the light of heavenly love. Anyone who's used ChatGPT to generate things like that knows that this isn't cold and emotionless. It can write beautiful things. So specify the audience. So if you are writing for a business audience, that's different from a general audience, which is different from an expert or child. So here's an example of writing a recipe for soup that a 7-year-old could do. And so the first step is ask an adult for help. So it will think about your audience and take that into account. The next thing you can do is give it a sample. So here's, I gave it a sample of the book Eat, Pray, Love. And one of you on the survey said your hobbies were cooking and gisting, which I had to Google what gisting is, because we don't use that in around Boston. But I gather that it's talking and gossiping and having and chatting. So so I think it's a great book we have here, Cooking and Gisting. I would buy that. And so I gave it the sample, said, here's a summary of another book. Write me a summary for this imaginary book, Cooking and Gisting. So I think this is a good book here. And it's a captivating tale with the magic of storytelling. Sharing, I mean, it's amazing how good it is, sharing our lives through the universal language of food. So, and it's partly able to do that because of the example that I gave it. For generating longer content, start from the top down. And so here's an example of we're going to write a book on extended reality. So the first thing we'll do, this is the chapters. So I say, all right, give me 10 chapters. So boom, it creates those chapters. And then I'll say, okay, now chapter 1, give me the 8 subsections of that chapter. And then it creates those. And now I'll say, okay, for section 1 of the first chapter, write the first 3 paragraphs of that. And then it'll write those paragraphs out. So you can use that for any longer document, whether it's a legal document or marketing or a book. And you can create long content. So actually, and this is a good time for me to go on a side note about the dangers of and the pitfalls of ChatGPT. One is hallucinating, because it's trying to just give you whatever answer will make you happy. And sometimes that means it'll just make up stuff. And so it's your job as the user. You can't just take this and put it out there. You have to take what you know about extended reality and check it. It will just make up stuff. And so that's hallucinating. I mean, there was a time when I was trying to process a conference agenda. And I said, take this conference agenda and put it into bullet points. And I was going to paste in the agenda of all these speakers and summarize it. And I forgot to paste in the agenda before I hit enter. So I just told it, take this agenda and put it in bullets. And it just made up a conference just fabricated it. So it said, okay, Abigail is going to give a speech on cooking and gisting. 8th is the section up. And then the second thing is some of it will just be space filler, will just be basically bullshit. And so it's your job as someone who's trying to create interesting, useful stuff to realize, okay, some of this is just filler, or it's boring, or it's not helpful. And so it's your job as a user that's trying to make something interesting or a helpful legal document to realize when it's just creating filler that's pointless. And it's your job to make it interesting and to take out that pointless stuff. All right, you can ask it to format content. So here you can see we have a recipe involving just bread, ketchup, and pickles. And so it's formatted it with bold and italics. And so for that, you just say, please format it in Markdown, and it will add formatting. All right, so that's the content section. The other thing that I'll add quickly is to just go through things quickly. A lot of times we'll say, okay, I need a tweet about a ChatGPT session, and we'll say, okay, write 5 tweets, and the first one will be okay, and etc. But if you want good content, just say, okay, make 10 tweets for me, and then it'll make 10, and then you can say number 8 is my favorite. Now, based on that, make 10 more, and then it'll make 10 more, and then you can say, okay, I like the ones that were funny and clever. Make 10 more again. Okay, this is too professional. Make it playful and casual. Make 10 more again, and just you can go through so much improvement in 3 minutes because it's so fast. That as long as you're overseeing it, you can, in 3 minutes, you can get something that is 100 times more interesting and higher quality than someone who just says, write me a tweet about X and Y. All right, so now we'll go through some of this stuff. I think some of this stuff will be self-explanatory, so we'll go through it quickly. Project management, you can say, actually, this is one of the things I didn't even know it can do, and I just asked it and it did it. I said, make tick boxes, make check boxes. So here's the thing. I said, I want you to be a project manager for building a treehouse. And it gave me this insanely detailed project management thing. And then you can dialogue with it as if it's the project manager, because you will need to change things and it won't be perfect. And then you can come back and say, okay, this is what I've done. Please check off these boxes and change this. And so here I've ticked off 2 boxes, and I've said, give me more time for planning the treehouse, and it's added time. Decision making. Anytime you have a decision, especially a difficult decision, you can rapidly go through the key aspects of that decision. And so you can generate pro and con lists. So here's someone, I'm thinking of quitting my job as a lawyer to become a Latin dancer. Please write a pro and con to help me decide. And it's so funny that ChatGPT doesn't know that that's somewhat comical, but it will it'll give you those answers. And so the pros of becoming a Latin dancer are passion and fulfillment, physical health, creativity. The cons are financial stability. You're leaving your job as a lawyer. And so you can do this for anything. You can say, generate the pros and cons, and then you could go through those lists to help you make the decision. And then if that's not dynamic enough, you could create a debate. So here I can say 3 people are debating whether I should give up my legal career for Latin dancing. One person, and then you can create the aspects of the decision that you want to think about. So I would say one person is pragmatic, one is romantic, and the other is focused on physical health. Write their dialogue or their debate about this. And so then it will talk about this. It will debate those aspects of the decision you need to think about. And so you can, good decision making means considering all these aspects and doing it efficiently. And before something like this, it could take an hour or days to go through all these aspects. And now you can do it in 10 minutes. All right. Spreadsheets is another one that probably some of you have already tried. And so this applies to some of you are doing advanced coding stuff too, and this applies to that. But basically, you can tell it what you need to, you can talk to it in plain English and it'll create the formulas for you. And so here's a spreadsheet on the left, and I'm telling ChatGPT, I want a formula that takes the highest 2 numbers, adds them together, finds a square root of that, and then multiplies that by 2. I could never in a million years do that on sheets. Well, maybe a million years, but I don't know formulas that well. And yet here we are, we have this formula. And so changes everything, because a year ago, I would have had to figure that out or watch a tutorial. And now the only thing I need to do is figure out how to explain that in English, and then I need to be able to check it. But here we see it, it created the formula. I plugged it into Google Sheets, and we have our answer. And so for formula and coding, it's all about precision of language. It's, you just need to figure out how to say what you needed to do in plain language. And I don't, it doesn't even have to be English, whatever your preferred fluent language is, whatever your language you're the most fluent in talking about coding and formulas, you can type it in that. And the better you get at just saying things precisely about coding and formulas, the more it will just crank out exactly what you wanted. And a lot of times it may not work. And so this is where you iterate. And so you'll say, I need a formula that does this. And it says, here's the formula. And then you say, this gave me the wrong answer. Why not? Let's figure it out. And it will iterate through troubleshooting with you as a coding partner. And then you can, so that covers generating formulas and things like that. And now you can also use spreadsheets as powerful prompt generators. And so let's say you're creating a legal document or a document for your organization about how to run things. You can create a spreadsheet of the different aspects of the prompt you need, and then use that to generate prompts and then feed those into ChatGPT. And so I'll come back to this later, but this is an example of someone built a spreadsheet that talks to ChatGPT and then generates a story and images. And in the spreadsheet, you can choose from these various aspects of how you want to generate the story and what images you want to generate. And so we'll come back to that. But basically, the point is you can use spreadsheets and other tools to generate complicated prompts that you then feed into ChatGPT. So, all right, we're about halfway through. I think we're making good time here. So now we've kind of covered a lot of concrete stuff, and I want to step back to one of the general principles of becoming an expert in ChatGPT, which is to think of it like a telescope or a microscope for thinking. And so whatever problem, this applies to all of you, whether you're just doing administrative tasks or doing high-level coding. Think about your project, and then you can zoom in and zoom out and talk to ChatGPT about it. And so zooming out is something like, how does this, I need you to write a mission statement that fits to that updates the mission of my nonprofit. And so, and then you can zoom in on a microscope level and say, I have a piece of code here that is 300 lines long. Please look at line 247 and tell me how that works in plain English. And then you can zoom out and say, now look at this 300-line piece of code and tell me how this fits in with my education plan to become an expert in machine learning. What are the lessons I can learn from this piece of code, big picture? So use ChatGPT as your thinking partner to zoom in and zoom out, and as if you're exploring this infinite space of the projects that you're working on. And so to flesh out this concept a little more, there's a show about the engineers at Disney. And one of the things one of the engineers talked about is Walt Disney's idea of the 4 levels of detail. And so when they were building Disney World and the parks, Walt Disney said, these are the 4 levels of detail that we need to make people feel immersed and feel the magic of like they've been transported into a different world. And so this is an example of how you can use your imagination to just navigate the space of whatever you're working on. And so the first level of detail is far away. And so imagine you see a village, you're in a field and you see a village from far away, and there's a steeple there. And so this corresponds to, whatever your big picture view of the situation is, whatever your project is. And now imagine you walk to the village and you are on the main street of the village and you're walking around and you see the people and you get a feel for the village. And this is level 2 of detail. Now you turn towards a building and you're looking at the details of the building. You see the cracked paint on the windowsills, and you read the signs, and you can smell the flowers. And then you walk up to the building and you see the doorknob, and you put your hand on the doorknob and you can feel that it's been worn from the people in the village, and it was handcrafted by a metalsmith around the corner. And this is the all of the detail that you can bring to any project now as you're exploring the space of ChatGPT. And so this is to get you, it's outside of the idea of thinking it's just predicting the next word. It is a tool for exploring the infinite space of whatever you are working on. So now we'll move into expertise. And that lesson of using your imagination applies to expertise, because whatever field you were trying to become an expert in, you now can navigate the infinite variety of angles of this area of expertise. And so again, to develop expertise, you're going to conjure up your genie, your expert that is here to be your personal ideal tutor. So you could say you're an expert in Python, you're an expert in R programming, you're an expert in SQL. And then interact with it. Say, explain this code to me line by line. Or you could say, how can I have code that I want to do this. How do I do this? Or you can say, help me translate this code. There's no limit to what you can ask whatever expert you conjure up to help you. And so you have the most brilliant tutor now available to you 24/7, which is a miracle, really. And so one thing to also remember is that to occasionally step outside of ChatGPT, because there will be times when you will hit a block inside ChatGPT and you need other resources. And so for example, you can ask ChatGPT about data science, but don't forget to step out and interact with the community and Google is your friend. And so there's whole pages and tutorials on your niche. And so here's an example of using ChatGPT for data science, and a whole cheat sheet on that. And then you can conjure up specific people or experts. So this is a slide from earlier, but this is how we're now combining all of the levels of detail to create our picture of this area of expertise. And so this is how you become an expert, is by, imagine for SQL, that the view from the field is the history of SQL. And now all the way down to the doorknob is what are all the little pieces of the programming language do. And you can ask ChatGPT about any of that. So you can conjure experts. So here is Einstein. I have tried over and over, but I still don't really get relativity. So, but if I wanted to, I could talk with Einstein and have him explain it to me, and I could say, well, I still don't get why I still don't get the movie Interstellar and why that guy got old when he was traveling at the speed of light. Or my wife is a Montessori teacher, and so here is an example of interacting with Maria Montessori. You can say, okay, summarize your philosophy, and here are, and give me some quotes by you. And you can dialogue. I mean, everything within a single ChatGPT thread, it will remember what was previously discussed. And so you can talk and ask questions, and it will remember what you've talked about. And so you can ask follow-up questions. And then if you want to keep going, I mean, you can also, one of the hacks is you can say to ChatGPT, okay, now take everything we've talked about and summarize it in as dense text as you can, in such a way that you could understand it later. And then it will crank out some summary that may be incomprehensible to you. And then you can start a new chat and say, here's a summary of our last conversation on this topic. Let's keep talking about machine learning or extended reality so I can learn more. So another thing you can do is, and this touches back to being a thought leader or a leader in your organization, is you can take the seeds of your ideas and now grow them and flesh them out. And so everybody has theories and ideas that are partially fleshed out, but they just haven't had time, or they don't know exactly what the next step is to write out their theory. And so you can take your beginnings of ideas and flesh them out. And so here's an example of me saying, I have a theory that extended reality will be helpful for autistic people because they can't see, they are missing out on emotional cues, and we are going to be able to add these cues in with extended reality. And I can say, what's a good name for this theory, and what are some implications of it? And I don't think that's a very good idea for the theory. Emotion augmentation theory for autism spectrum disorder. So here I would iterate and say, give me something more catchy, please. But this is how you can use ideas and become a leader. And so also for expertise, you can pick a highly technical thing and get it explained to you. Here is a piece of code I don't understand. Tell me how this works. And the other thing you can do is you can go above your skill level. And so if you are, so someone like me, I know a little HTML, but I'm an average, a below average coder, but now I can do things, I can attempt things on ChatGPT that I could not have done a year ago. And so if you're an administrator, that may mean doing more complicated things on Excel. And if you're an advanced coder, that may mean taking on a larger project that you don't know you hadn't done before. You can quiz yourself and say, ask me 10 questions about this topic that I'm trying to become an expert in. And you can just rapidly go through as fast as you want any topic and have it quiz you, and then you can delve into the aspects you don't understand. So I'm trying to learn quantum physics. Ask me 10 questions about quantum physics, and then I will answer them and we'll talk about it. Okay, empathy. We have 18 minutes left. I think we're okay. Everyone, I know this is a lot. We're going fast, so everyone take a breath. As long as we're talking about empathy. And I'll give this presentation to people, so don't feel like you have to remember everything. So it's a myth that that ChatGPT and AIs can't help you with empathy. With ChatGPT, you can be superhuman in terms of your empathy now. So you can take a situation or a piece of writing, and to come back to the microscope or the telescope, analyze that from 10 different angles. And so a common thing in sales, or if you're trying to convince someone to do a project, is the DMU, the decision making unit. And so if you're trying to get a project approved or get a raise, you can say to yourself, you can say to ChatGPT, these are the 3 people that are in charge of making the decision, and this is what they are like. Help me understand all of their emotional angles to me asking for a raise, and help me think about ways that I can explain why a raise is beneficial to them as well. Which fits in with how you can use ChatGPT to be more assertive for people that are shy, and there are people that don't ever want to ask for a raise or don't want to ask for certain things. You can talk through these conversations, and you can think about the emotions of the person on the other side, and think about how you can present your case in a way so that they feel better at the end of the conversation also. I mean, there's ways for every conversation you are avoiding because it's awkward or whatever it is. There are emotional angles and insights that you can use to get through that conversation and have the other person feel better at the end of that conversation because you've stopped to brainstorm and use ChatGPT to consider their perspective. So you can create dialogues. Again, you can just create people. You can say, imagine 5 people are arguing over the best approaches to machine learning, and show me this dialogue. Or you can say, my boss and I had a fight over how to do this project. Continue this conversation and help me understand her perspective in relation to my perspective. And you can explore your own bias also. There's a famous subreddit on the website Reddit called "Am I the Asshole?" where people post things and they're saying, "Am I the jerk here, or is the other person the jerk?" And so you can, when you have a dispute, you can say, I can say, ChatGPT, I finished all the ice cream in my freezer and my wife got very upset at me. Am I the jerk, or what? Do I have to announce when I'm going to finish the ice cream, or can I just finish it? And ChatGPT will help you get through that. And ChatGPT will say, here is your bias in the situation, and here's how you can consider the perspective of the other person. And then you can practice difficult conversations as well. But you can conjure up ChatGPT, and you can say, you are the vendor that charged me an extra 10% when you weren't supposed to, and I need to call you up and ask you to give me a refund. Let's practice this conversation. So we've covered, those are all the topics. We've covered expertise, efficiency, empathy. They all tie together. As you can imagine, you can use the techniques for all the various ones. So now we're just going to go through the final keys to you becoming an expert. And one is play, because the goal is just fluency. these tools are going to become just standard in any job, just using them. And so play with them, use them every day. Make up stories for your kids, make up songs. You can choose your own adventure. You can say, I'm Harry Potter, and give me 3 choices for an adventure I can go on. And use them for your hobbies. Use them, come up with new recipes for cooking, and test the limits of what is possible, which is just easier when it's not a work thing. You can just throw things at it and see what it will come back with. So now to give an example of playing, here is someone on Twitter came up with a thing called Hollow Sheet, where they took Google Sheets and connected it to GPT-3, and then connected it to an image generator. And so you put in just the beginnings of a story, and it will generate it and the story for you in the mid on your spreadsheet. So now let me see if I can share an example of using it and playing with it here. Here we go, share. So can everyone see the hollow sheet now, hopefully? So can we see it? Or could someone, I'm not sure if you can see it. Could someone say, does anyone have a microphone they could say whether they see it?
Yes.
You
Yes.
can. Okay, thank you. All right. So here's this is the spreadsheet. And so here's the front end. And basically this is to give you an idea of what's possible and how you can play around with these things. Here is the back end. Here are those prompts basically that this person put in. And then on the top right here, you can see there's a drop down where you can choose, okay, I'm going to generate this story. So I'm going to choose the writing style of Ridley Scott. I'm going to choose this visual style, and I'm going to choose this other visual style for the other scene. And then here's the other, now it's creating those prompts. It's feeding them into GPT-3 and another tool for image generation. And so here is the example of it in action. So I've chosen a writer, writing style token. I know someone said they like anime. So here we're choosing a visual style of Studio Ghibli, and now we're choosing a second style of intricate Japanese illustrations. And then now we're going to type in our story we're generating. So we'll say, this is pre-recorded, but I said 2 Nigerian women build a time machine to visit. I originally said visit the 18th century, but then 19th century, but then I said, no, wait, let's have them visit the future. You guys are from the future. So you put that in, and then now it's the spreadsheet using the API. It's communicating with ChatGPT, and it is now generating the story in the universe of that. So we have inside that scene, as the 2 Nigerian women build the time machine, the camera pans to capture the inner workings of their craft. And then the nearby space, nearby where they're building their time machine, is an ancient temple of a forgotten civilization. The walls are lined with intricate hieroglyphs. And then now the image generator is taking this text and generating images based on this story that we have now fabricated. And so you can see it's infinite what you can do with this if you start to connect these pieces together and use your imagination and play around with it. So we'll try and come back to the presentation. And so that was the hollow sheet and connecting apps. And then I'm going to show you Mid-Journey because the images from that were not great. But what you can do now is that I took the text from the ChatGPT generated text and I fed it into an image generator called Mid-Journey. And this is what you get when you use better image generation tools is you can take that those stories and just put them into an image generator. And here we have our story of two women building a time machine. And so I've taken here the text, and this is how it works. I take the text from the chat generator and then I put it into the image generator, and we are creating our universe based on these tools and our imagination. And so that is pretty much it. And so to summarize it, I want to say, don't just use it for work. Use it on your big problems. It's a tool for thought. And this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And towards the bottom are the basics, and towards the top is you becoming a totally enlightened self-actualized person. But at the bottom is if you are not getting enough sleep or you're eating poorly, that's going to affect your career and your job and your family. And so use ChatGPT for your big problems. If you can't sleep, then work on solving that with ChatGPT. Don't just limit it as a work thing that can write tweets, because it is your partner in thought and solving problems. And so every time you solve one of these lower, more foundational problems, you will get better at your job. You will get closer to being a leader at whatever you're working on. And so I'll summarize it by saying, focus, figure out, it's easy to get lost in these technologies. And so this is what the guy who runs the Entrepreneurship Center at MIT is Bill Olet, and he has this on his wall, which is keep the main thing the main thing. And so it's easy to get lost in these technologies. There's 1,000 directions you can take them in. And so at work, keep the main thing the main thing. Remember what your bigger goals are. And then in your life, keep the main thing the main thing, and don't sacrifice the quality of your life just to, don't sacrifice sleep and health for your career, because your health is more important, your family is more important. And so to sum things up, this is the golden era of AI, because very quickly we're going to realize it's like a new city, and it's going to come with good things and terrible things. And very quickly we're all going to see all over the news the terrible things. And so right now, this is the golden era where we have this access to this magical thing that can help us learn and figure new things out and make our lives better. And this is eventually you'll be it will change the world, and we'll be aware of all the challenges that it brings with it. So right now, do as much as you can, do as much good with it as you can right now, because we're months away from everyone complaining about it. It's just like social media. We're in that social media stage now where we're all aware of the difficulties. That's around the corner. And so enjoy it now. So that's it. I should say, I do coaching and in term around chat and AI and how you can use that further. This is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, so I'm available for that. And now we'll get into questions, if anyone has any. I've been talking for an hour, so it's hard to just jump in and ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. We're gonna jump in right into the questions because I actually do believe a lot of us have questions, and I see Tina Aday's video on. Immediately, it was questioning. So, Tina, do you have any question? Does anyone have any questions? You can raise your hands. Put on your videos while you ask the questions. We want to make this as interactive as possible. We have about 3 minutes left, to get those questions answered. So this would be a good time if you do have any question. All right. Go ahead, Tinode.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dorothy. Thank you so much, Mark. A very beautiful session. I was just a little curious. You were mentioning some other AI generative tools that you use. Are you able to key us in into some of these? I know you didn't really show a lot of maybe how you worked them to sync or align, which of course this 1 hour might not be able to take. I think if you can just give us some of these other, maybe the imagery and all of that, it will also help. Because like, for instance, I love to make presentations. I've read somewhere where I can synchronize Excel, Canva, and ChatGPT, but I haven't explored it. But what you're saying now just clearly reaffirms that that's possible. So I just want to help us with some of those other tools we can use alongside ChatGPT. Thank you very much once again.
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot of so there is DALL-E is the one that's made by is the image generator that's made by the same company as ChatGPT, and so that's, I think, the easiest to kind of connect via coding. But the Mid-Journey is the name of the one that did the really beautiful images from the Time Machine story, and so I think there's also Playground. There may be one called Playground. If you Google image generation, you'll find the one that is currently above and beyond all the rest is called Mid-Journey, and for that you use a Discord account to generate the images. So Discord is like chat for video gamers. So you go into the chat and you say, imagine this image, and it will generate the images. And so that's the one that's clearly does the best quality. But you can also use DALL-E or or the one within Canva. Yeah. And then actually the other thing to play around with are the voice generation ones. So there's one called, I think it's called 11 Labs. And so you can also you can clone your own voice. And so if you want to make videos or narration, that is another generative AI field that you should play around with.
Fantastic. I see Adekemi raising up her hands. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mark. It has been very, very enlightening. I think the question I have is relating to the encryption of ChatGPT. How solid is it in terms of data protection, privacy, and things like that? Because I see like there's almost like a disclaimer that maybe since it's open source, some of the things you're sharing can someone else see it on the back end, the people that created it. How secure is it? I think that's one of the concerns because I don't think I've ever thought about using that ChatGPT outside of my office and maybe job search, things that I have to do like with career. But now you just said things about the big issues, tell it about yourself and things like that. I'm just wondering how secure and how private those kind of conversations and things like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if you go into the settings, you can choose whether your conversations are used to train their model or not, whether they're kind of kept private or used in their AI training. But that's a concern that a lot of people have. A lot of companies are banning their employees from using it now, and so I think very quickly, you'll see people will be using everyone will have their own local AI. And so if you follow the AI on Twitter, you'll see a lot of people are experimenting with running these large language models on their own computer. And so they're not the same, they're much lower quality, but that's the best option if you really want to keep everything totally secure. Otherwise, it's similar to probably like Google, where your information is going to Google, but it's one piece of information in a